Hey, Tony Gaston here. Now listen, y'all don't know have on really no glasses, but somehow I got lucky this morning. Remembered my glasses for this here old sunlight. But wanted to pop in because I wanted to talk to you about something that I noticed in this generation, what we have going on, because seeing these young men in the NBA, first it was one young man, Zion Williamson, getting the stripper pregnant, and then the other stripper coming out, or escort or whatever they are, coming out and saying she's sleeping with him at the same time, and thought she was finna get a car and a watch and all of this. And it's like, man, this man just living out his little porn fantasy. And then this video come out with Jalen Green, and I think his name Josh Christopher, and Jalen Green got the legs up in the air, got both legs up in the air, and the ankle behind the ears, and getting the brakes beat off him, not literally, but with clothes on. And to be honest with you, that's a angle most women can't even get in after marriage, especially. That might help a woman get married or have some kids. But these young men up there demonstrating something, grown folks after marriage ain't even trying to do all that. And it's just sad, and got me to thinking, like, raising these kids is hard. And the boy Jalen Green, he paint his nails. He wear ponytails. And I just know, as a father, as a parent, if my son go to paint his nails as a young adult, I'm gonna be ready to drive on somebody's bridge. And if I see a video of my son humping another man in the booty, with clothes on or off, clothes on still, I'm still gonna be looking for somebody's bridge. And it just goes to show how we got a parent, and we can't worship these kids, we can't praise these kids, and we got to do what we know, and we got to teach the lesson that we need to be taught. I saw a man say, I believe it was Jordan Peterson, which I don't listen to everything he say. Well, I never really watch videos of people, but I watch little clips. And he said, don't let your children be somebody you don't like. And I think that's the problem, is a lot of times when we see our children developing a personality that we don't like, and instead of us changing it, we just argue and fuss and fight, or we'll harbor resentment instead of changing it. And one of the things I'm big on, and everybody might not be big on this, especially the gentle parenting crew, the parenting therapists, my thing is, the Bible I read say, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It also says, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So with the good book I'm reading, it's about training your child, not letting your child do whatever they want to do, but training your child in the way that they should go, how to be an adult. And it's about chastising your child when your child don't listen and don't do right. Now, I'm beyond whipping, just because it don't really work. You gotta teach, and to be honest with you, don't really no punishment work. People change when they want to change, but you have to steer them in the direction to change. And when we lose things, that kind of steer us in the direction toward change. So, and it's hard. And it's tough lessons that got to be taught. And so for me now, I bust my butt. You know, I bust my butt for my children. So I demand respect. If I say something, it's yes, sir. Point blank, period. I don't want to hear what you thinking and how you thinking and what you feel unless I ask you. And that's just me. That's my style. That ain't everybody's style. That ain't the gentle parenting. That ain't the parental therapist. I mean, all that, you know, child therapists, all that. No, you know, let your child express themselves. It's gonna teach them how to live in a raw. Yeah, they can express themselves when I give the flow to express. But if I say something, that's what goes. Point blank, period. Stay in a child's place. And that's just a little lesson that we pick up along the way as certain people raise certain ways. And that's why, although I did what I did, I wasn't shooting up no school. See, when you go to just giving too much free reign, oh, just do what you want to do, express yourselves, and well, then they be shooting up school. And that right there, man, that ain't something I play with. I don't play about raising no child. So I'm looking around and seeing what folks growing up into, and I don't like it. And so it's kind of like, when you listen to people who was raised right, when they was being raised, they hated it. They hated it. I heard a guy say, he was like, man, my daddy was the type that he'll cuss me out. Like, my daddy was the type to where he'll call me in the middle of the game. Hey, man, you ain't doing what you could do. You ain't doing what you supposed to be doing out there, man. You better than that now. You do better than that. He was like, he'll talk to me like that. So he was like, it really ain't nothing the coach could say that's going too much phase me. But nah, he hated that. He hated that. And so when you listen to folks who was raised right, you'll notice they was like, hey, boy, my mama did this. Boy, my mama did that. My daddy did this. My daddy did that. Like, people will talk about the whoopings they got. Nah, when they got that whooping, as soon as that whooping was over with, they cussing that folk out. Hey, boom. Not to the parent face, but behind the parent back. I remember I used to cuss my mama and daddy out, boy. Cussing up, son. But I appreciate what they was trying to do. It's nothing in me. Like, my mama beat me till I bled before. Like, literally, leg was cut open, bleeding, black and blue. My daddy had to stop her from whooping us. Like, he took to where she lost her whooping privileges, because she'll put something on you. But that's how she was raised, too. My grandma get that switch off that tree. And that's how my grandma used to whoop us too. She get that switch off that tree. Boy, listen, that switch. Those y'all who don't know what a switch is, it's just like a little tree. It's like a little tree limb. It's like a little long piece of wood. That's real thin, like a whip. And when you get popped with it, it go to cutting that skin after a while. My grandma get that switch off that tree. Yeah. It was almost a form of slavery. You getting whooped, but guess what? Boy, you finna get in line, boy. You finna get in line. But listen, if somebody got to want to change, because my same cousins who used to get whooped with that switch still ended up strung out on drugs. But it's because they didn't have a mother and father. They just was raised by their grandma. So grandma trying to raise so many grandkids just can't really be effective. But a lot of us with kids, we in the home with our children. And we have to realize what we have to do. And this is something that I'm seeing, because I'm seeing the adults. Now, my kids, I got good kids. But at the same time, I was a good kid. My wife was a good kid. But that don't stop people. That ain't stop me from selling drugs. That ain't stop me from stealing from stores. From being a good kid. Being raised in a 2-parent home, that didn't stop me from being a drug dealer. You see what I mean? So a lot of time we look at our kids and we say, oh, I got good kids. I got good kids. I ain't got to do this. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because guess what? I had homeboys who was raised in a single parent home and they never sold drugs. Now, they might have smoked drugs. They might have smoked drugs. They might have smoked some weed. They might have popped some pills. So same thing. Now, it's some who didn't smoke, didn't sell, but they may be a cheater, cheating on their wife nonstop. So it's always something that adults get into. And we could look and I know people who, it's people who was in a 2-parent home and end up as a young adult having threesomes, women having threesomes and come from a 2-parent home. And I see women talking about that. Coming from a 2-parent home, daddy's little girl and getting towed out the frame. Front, back, up, down, left, right, having threesomes. But come out of a 2-parent home. And so this is what we got to realize, like, just having parents and, oh, we married 30 years. My parent married 30 years, 40 years. Okay, and then you divorced in 3. Divorced in 5. Or somebody going upside the head for 20 years. It's like, okay, and? So it's a difference than just being in the house with our kids and actually raising our kids. And what we have to do is, we got to explain some things, but we ain't got to explain everything. We ain't got to explain everything, because you can explain till you blue in the face and the child still ain't going to understand. Child ain't going to understand till they become a parent. When they become a parent, then they're going to be like, oh, okay. You might spend $1,000 on your child for something, some type of curricular activity or some type of clothes or something. And so when you spend that $1,000, you expect effort of straight A's or A's and B's, and then your child mess around and bring home a C, but you know your child capable of A's and B's, and that's your standard. Now when you explain that to your child, oh, why they can't do this, why they can't do that, they ain't gonna understand that. That's not fair. People make mistakes. People have C's. C's get degrees. I got a friend who's very smart and she got a C. You explain till you blue in the face. Hey, listen, like I said, that right there, what you was getting ready to do, that game or this here or that there, that party, this here, that there, it's canceled. It's canceled. When you get in there and you study like you mean it, and you study an hour, 2 hours a night, and you get that C to a B, then we could talk. All right? End of discussion. Thank you. Now listen, you got some kids that they gonna run away. Okay, that's they lot in life. You got to pray for them. You got to love them. And long as you know you wasn't abusing them, long as you know you wasn't abusing them, long as you know that, point blank period, it's a route. It's a route. And listen, almost every one of us, almost every person who was a child, at one point or another, said up under our breath, I hate you, in reference to a loving parent. Now, it's different if your parent was, on drugs, abusive in every way. That's different. But guess what? I've talked to adults whose parents were all of the things that a parent should not be, and they still come to terms and forgive their parent. They still do it. Like, I remember watching the rapper, I think his name, maybe Offset. Maybe it's Offset. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think it was him who met his father at 24 years old. And he said, man, I don't even care. Like, I'm over that. Like, I was a child. I used to be mad with him and all that. He was like, but man, I'm a grown man now, and I made it. Like, I want to have a relationship with my dad. Like, I want to be able to bless my dad and love on my dad. Have a relationship with the man. And this man was finna just wipe away. Just, we never think we'll say or do something like that in the moment. Like, I done had to coach single mothers where they son wake up boohoo crying about why they dad not there. Why is my dad not here? Why don't my dad love me? Why did my dad leave me? And they son boohoo crying. And they son just going through all kind of stuff because dad left, and other kids at school got a dad, and they talking about their dad, and my dad did this, my dad did that, and the son got to hear about everybody else dad and what everybody else dad doing, and what his dad, and be reminded of what his dad didn't do. And that same little boy will grow up and become successful like Drake did, and forgave his daddy. Drake forgave his daddy, blessed his daddy. I mean, literally let his daddy come out and make music. And daddy music wasn't too good, but it's kind of like, Pops, listen, man, I'm out here #1 in the world. Like, I'm gonna need to shut that music down, cause you know you kind of taint my legacy I got going on right here now. Hold on now, Pops. But let his daddy come out and make music, all kind of stuff, you know. So it's like, that's what we have to be reminded of, is that one day our children gonna understand. We got to understand where our heart is and where we operating from, and the lesson we trying to teach. And you got to teach a lesson, and you can't get caught up trying to be your child friend, because I see a lot of moms try to be their daughter friend. And you know what their daughter do? Go out and be gargling semen in college. Realistically now, literally. And then to read an article about the collagen she finna get from it. And literally. And the same thing with men. Parent try to be their friend, coddle them, and the man be flipping and tossing, or getting flipped and tossed, one or the other. And a lot of times we just don't understand it. We don't pay attention to what's going on, and we just thinking, oh no, I'm my child friend, I want my child to be able to talk to me. No, your child still ain't gonna talk to you. You think your child talking to you, your child gonna tell you selectively what they want you to know and hear, but your child ain't finna be coming in incriminating themselves. And yeah, they might tell you, oh, I'm pregnant, but that ain't really what you want to hear. You happy your child come to tell you she pregnant at 16, or he got a girl pregnant at 16? Absolutely not. You absolutely not happy about that. But that's what's happening. That's what's happening when you're your child friend. And listen, it depending on your child calling in life, the more you're gonna have to say, the more you're gonna have to do. Like, the more you're gonna have to be intense with that child and raising that child. And so I just want to encourage the parents, like, don't get weary in well doing. Don't give up in this here fight. You know, keep doing what you called to do. Keep doing what you called to do. Keep doing what you know you gotta do. And don't get weary. Because you know right from wrong, and you know how to innately, you know how to raise kids. It's uncomfortable, because sometimes we feel like all we doing is correcting. But that's what we supposed to do. And that's in anything. Like, you look on a job, you look with anything. When you teaching somebody, all you doing is correcting. Hey, do it like this. 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 Point blank period. So, hey, this Tony Gasson. I had got my wife truck detailed, and they hit something, so the airbag light on, so we couldn't figure it out. So I had to come on up here to the service, 8 o'clock in the morning, to see about this here airbag. So God bless you. We'll talk soon.